Welcome to my presentation on the electronic medical record transformation, a case study at a major hospital in the Bahamas. I'll be talking about the Lewin change model as the basis of the case study. It involves three phases: the unfreeze phase, where the status quo is changed and you determine what needs to be changed, how to do it. Anything from management has to be strongly supported. The change phase itself involves talking with the involved persons. In the refreeze phase, we anchor the change into the culture itself and provide support and training. Another basis for the case study is those things that make for effective change management, including motivating change, creating vision, developing political support, managing the transition, and sustaining the momentum, all of which will be seen throughout the case study. So, providing a little bit of background, the hospital in question is a government run hospital, the largest in the nation. It consists of 415 beds and on average sees about over 16,000 patients per year. The government hospitals are run by a quasi-government administrative body that is largely staffed by business persons. At the time of the change rather, the government party in power sought to revamp the main hospital, implementing a new critical care block with some of the latest technologies. It focused largely on the operating rooms and the ICUs in that venue. The mission statement of the hospital was to provide affordable, holistic, quality healthcare appropriate to the needs of the clients by a team of committed, caring professionals striving through a research-driven environment. And the research has shown that we're in a technologically advanced environment, and so the hospital had been transforming to a paperless system throughout several departments. After that, it set its sights on the patient's medical record. Ultimately, the vision for the administration was for the entire hospital to develop a widespread information system. The problem is that healthcare facilities often lose patients' records if the record keeping is inadequate, and even when it is adequate. These paper files are prone to physical damage from spills, wear and tear with time, they're prone to infestation, and the writing fades with time. And all of this is particularly important when we consider that the notes form the main part of evidence in lawsuit cases. Some of these lawsuits are brought years after the notes are written, and notes are notably illegible. Electronic medical records, however, are easily retrievable, faster retrievability as well. It's widely accessed from desktop, laptop, mobile phones. The security is imperative. It requires a password and a username. There's longevity of availability. It cannot be altered after it's been signed off, and so there's preservation of integrity. There's better legibility, thoroughness of care. For these reasons, the organization sought to transform into the electronic medical system, and starting with one word, the operating theater. It allows for performance assessment and self-improvement as well. The administration, as I said previously, had other experience with an electronic system change, and so they had built a special projects team. That same team was brought on to this project. They identified stakeholders from the groups within the operating theater, that's the clerical staff, medical record staff, nurses, and anesthesia, and invited representatives from each, the head of each, to come on to the special projects team. It was the same thing with information technology as well. The first step after implementing the special projects team was to identify the industry leaders in terms of the software. They found the top 5 leaders and tabulated the pros and cons for each, looking at things like the reliability, service, cost, reviews, compatibility, existing software, user friendliness, appropriateness of software. Eventually, they shortlisted it down to 3 EMR vendors, and the site visits allowed them to make assessments, observations for it. Eventually, they decided on the security surgical information systems. Each stakeholder had identified 1 or 2 persons below them who they valued in terms of having passion for the success. and those were the champions that were identified. They were also super users, and they had to be computer savvy. They would go on to train other people and to find more champions. The feedback to the vendor company was done by these champions as well. An example was that the commonly used drugs had to be changed because they differed between Bahamas and North America. Fortunately, the software vendor had already established the installation phasing as well as the methodology for training its customers, and so that implementation was easy. Interestingly enough, the organization had to create a new position because the OD change was ongoing and continuous. They needed someone to oversee the training. The culture that the administration found was actually enjoyment, and so persons participated in trainings enthusiastically. They were held over a week. Unfortunately, eventually the barriers to change that popped up included power outages, servers being down, a cyber attack that required daily IT visits for quality control, and because the government political power changed, so did the administration, and so did the motivation for the vision of an electronic system throughout the hospital. In conclusion, planning, training, development are integral parts of any first order change. For any major technological change, we need to recognize that it's continuous and ongoing. OD principles are one and the same, they never change, they are part of the inherent changes that occur within the health industry, and they ensure organization sustainability and improvement. These are my references.